Hey, how you doing? This is Kenya T. Coviak, and welcome to Curious Herbalism Explorations in Herbal Folk Magic. You know, that's a lot of title right there. That's a lot going on. Just like my potatoes are in the kitchen right now cooking, and I hope they'll be okay because, I love potatoes. I love them so much. I should yell at her and tell her to take the potatoes and make sure they're low, but they're really low. And one of the things I'm looking forward to about these potatoes, see, I'm going somewhere with this, is because tonight we're having potatoes in mugwort. That's right. Today's herb is mugwort. Now, some of you have probably, had your first introduction to mugwort, if you're not already into herbs, through a certain movie called Practical Magic. That was a really good movie. It had Nicole Kidman, and I believe that was Sandra Bullock. And that was a long time ago for some of us. We won't get into how long. And I remember one of the daughters, if I'm not mistaken, uh, it wasn't Jilly. It was Sandra Bullock's character. And she was so upset when her sister came home because Jillian had a horrible amount of damage around her face due to a situation of, certain things happening in a relationship that we're not going to talk about right now because they could cause issues for others. But what they did, the aunt looked at her and said, "Oh, little mugwort will clear that right on up." And in actuality, yes, mugwort is really good to help clearing up bruises and other things going on, little marks or little, areas that are scrapes and things that may have happened. When I'm talking about mugwort, I'm talking about Artemis vulgaris or Artemisia vulgaris. Excuse me for saying Artemis, but as back in the day, they used to assign gods and goddesses and deities and planets and all kinds of things and manner of creature toward different plants, especially when they were working with the doctrine of signatures. Ooh, look at that chin right there. But hey, I got a lot of chins. Don't chin check me, because you'll be chin checking a while. Okay, but Artemis was going to be the huntress, and she's associated with mugwort, she's associated with all the Artemisia, because Artemisias are named after who? Artemis, girl. And Artemisia vulgaris, or mugwort, is part of that family. But believe it or not, Artemis is not the ruler of mugwort. It's not what we associate mugwort with when we look at the different energies around it. It's really a plant of the moon. That's right, the moon. M-O-O-N, moon, my friend. It's about the moon. And what else is ruled by the moon or associated with the moon? Feminine energy, women. It is very much a woman's plant. It is very much a feminine energy kind of plant. That does not mean that other people cannot use mugwort. I don't subscribe to exclusion. I'm about inclusion, and I don't need an intrusion of their exclusion to try to mess around with my policy of inclusion. Yeah, I'm from the 70s. I used to watch Toast. Hey, I'm from Detroit. We got the Players Theater here. We got the Players Club, too. The theater is actually the Players Club. It's a whole little issue. But you do actually really have Player of the Year that happens. So, but I digress. I digress. I digress. But mugwort is really good to heal bruising. It's good if you have had some contusions and discolorations in your skin. Now, understand though, mugwort is not just for that. Mugwort, or again, Artemisia vulgaris, is really good for putting into dream pillows. So that if you decide you want to rest after you've done your healing work and you want to lay down and take a little nap, Artemisia or mugwort is what you need to use. Stuff yourself a pillow full of that, and it doesn't have to be the giant pillow. I mean the little bitty pillow, maybe about the size of a 4x4. By the way, that is a hint. That is a hint. Stop trying to feel you have to be Holly Homemaker. You can just take two 4x4 bandages of gauze, okay? The ones that come in the packet at the different stores, and put the herb that you're trying to use to make a dream pillow. You can use two of those and put the herb inside that you're using, and then stitch it shut. And if you can go on and staple it, it's okay. Staple it about a quarter of an inch from the edges, and then cover it with some tape, preferably medical tape, so that there's nothing that pokes through, and you're ready to go. Shove that into the pillowcase of the pillow that you're laying on. Make sure it's on the side closest to your head, and it will help you rest, and it is good for dreams. Oh, what dreams may come. Because you're hunting for healing and you're hunting for dreams. Maybe you'll have dreams of Artemis. I don't know. Although, if you do, you might want to talk to a dream interpreter. But something else about Artemis when we're talking about hunting, there are different phases of the moon. Most of us think there are 4. Some of us know there are 8. And some of us know that the moon has 2 sides. And one of the sides for women is the huntress moon. And that's something that you may resonate with. So you might put some mugwort into your magical workings when you are using that kind of energy, especially if you're doing it on a dream plane, because some of us do dream work. I'm looking at you. I don't know who it is, but somebody's watching this podcast right now, and you all are engaged in nefarious activities, dream walking up on people. I ain't mad at you. Do you, boo? Just, make sure you don't hurt nobody, especially yourself. Don't worry about that double negative. Now, another thing that's important to realize is that Artemis is a huntress. Artemisias are under her. So it kind of looks logically, in a magically kind of weird way, that we would associate blood with mugwort. And we do associate blood with mugwort. And that is because if women are smoking mugwort, it can often bring visions. People hunt visions, they hunt altered states, they look for inspiration. But that inspiration you are seeking can also bring about early menstruation, because that's something that mugwort does. It's good for jump starting. Mugwort has traditionally been used for the female generational, genital, and reproductive organs. And the reason I said generational and not just genital or reproductive is because, as you know, for the majority of women who are fertile and who have been born with eggs, we are carried in our mother and in our grandmother. So because of that, that's why I'm saying generational. Because if your grandmother took mugwort to heal her reproductive organs, you did receive some benefit of that, no matter what your state is today. Just like if you are fertile and plan on having children, your child and your eggs will receive the benefit of that. Now, I am not a doctor on allopathic medicine. I am not a certified herbalist. I am not a certified naturopath. I say that because I'm not trying to give you medical advice. I'm giving you homespun remedies and homespun beliefs and magical beliefs. And that's what I'm doing. So don't be trying to call the AMA on me, because it ain't going to happen, baby boo. I ain't going to jail for nobody. Now, that being said, something else you can use it for, you can put it in a little bit of tea with some ginger, maybe to get that going a little bit. Understand, if you are carrying a child, do not use mugwort. Do not drink mugwort. Do not smoke mugwort, because it can cause miscarriage or termination. Now, before we get any further into that, You don't use it for that intentionally, because remember, any kind of medical procedures having to do with that nature can be fatal if you are in the hands of someone who does not know what they are doing. Don't do that. Go to a doctor. Never do that at home. Go to a doctor or a midwife, but who's been medically trained. Now, moving forward, if you accidentally ingest a large amount of mugwort and you are pregnant and do not wish to have bad effects, inform your doctor and let them tell you how to carry forward. Another thing mugwort is good for hunting is to hunt the in knowledge of that we will get when scrying. See, mugwort associate with a little bit of water in there, a little bit of moon magic, and that watery kind of sad association brings the talent to scry. Now, my teacher used to say scrawl, but that's because, they were raised in the older day. But scrying lets us see. Remember that song, They Call Me the Voodoo Woman? Remember that? I looked through water and spy dry land, I think it was. So you can do that. You can scry through the water with the mugwort. And one of the things you can do is take a little tea of the mugwort to put you in that mindset to be able to scry properly. Some people, if you use a magical mirror or glass or ball, will take the mugwort and make an infusion, not a decoction. Don't cut that down that deep, but an infusion, and they'll wash their magical mirrors with it or their magical items with it made of glass or reflective surfaces to help encourage that as well, because we are hunting that higher elevated state of vision so we can see. I can smell mugwort and meatloaf. Hey. Remember though, mugwort is a little bit bitter, so be prepared. You might want to add some other things that will help you with your scrying. Do not mix it with bay leaves, especially if you are carrying a child, because that can be very bad. I will leave it to you to look up that information because I am not a doctor and I'm not giving out pharmacological advice. But I will say this, don't do that. Do not do that. Something else you can use with mugwort, they used to say poison, and proof meant it made you invulnerable. Well, nothing's invulnerable. That's like unsinkable. And remember the Titanic? Yeah. Don't tempt fate and don't tease the gods. Hubris will lead you to a bad way. But mugwort is your friend when it comes to certain things, especially when it comes down to certain kind of, I want to say, delicate issues. Now I'm going to look at my note for a moment because I'm not as young as I used to be. And did you know that it used to be known as felon herb? I'll let you figure out why that is. And I'm just making sure that I didn't skip that one thing I wanted to talk about. No, I did not. Okay, so there's this thing called moxibustion, and that is something in traditional Chinese medicine that I am not qualified to teach you about. But I will say this, it helps clear some of the meridians. And generally, people know about acupuncture and acupressure, but they don't know about using mugwort prepared in a specific way and set a fire. Girl, it's on fire! And it's smoldering to help in the treatment of certain issues. And so you might want to look into that too, because it's always good to learn new things. And I like to share new things with my friends, and we're friends, right? Oh, wait a minute. That's my tagline from my podcast, My Magical Cottage Girl Life. I got lost for a moment. But another thing with mugwort that I do recommend is carry it with you and put it on your altar if you're doing something to try to go toward the future. Now, mugwort grows very well in the garden. It will spread, makes a lot of seeds. That should tell you it's good for fertility too, right? Which seems counterproductive, but it's not. And another thing you want to remember about mugwort is that if you can grow it yourself, grow it yourself. But if not, if you go to a shop, make sure you take a guide with you. You make sure you're getting what you. I know that you can get it at a New Moon 22 in New Baltimore, where I am, and I know it'll be safe. And there's some other places too that you can get it as well. I know Big Liz Conjure, she has it too. Hey, what's up, Liz? How you doing? Had to give you a shout out. But another thing that's very important, whenever, and I mean whenever, you are going to put anything in your mouth or on your body, make sure you identify that herb properly, know its Latin name and not just its nickname. Because calling an herb Uncle Henry, that doesn't mean anything. Knowing the actual name of it is what you need. I hope that this knowledge will be of service to you, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. I want to make sure that you understand that mugwort, again, is not something to play around with. It's not a recreational drug. It is not something to just try because all your friends tried it. It is something you want to make sure you treat with the respect and the care and the reverence as you do with all of the plants created by the Creator and put here to serve us and to protect us and to help be of use in our daily lives as well as our magical lives. Because magic is just another way of making sure that we navigate the world sometimes in the most positive and beneficial way for ourselves and others. Again, thank you for coming here, and I look forward to seeing you again here on Explorations in Herbal Folk Magic with Kenya T. Coviak, also known as Curious Herbalism. And I'll see you next week.